There is no glory without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard. And they know.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Dose Leprechauns. This is another episode we're bringing to you here in the studios of 5 Round MMA. We want to thank our partners again at 5 Round MMA for having us here in the studio this morning. I am Leprechaun Jason.
I am Leprechaun Nate.
Wow. All right, so we're excited to be here this morning. As some of you that follow us on social media know, we do a countdown as we get closer to Notre Dame football season, and today happens to be 91 days until Notre Dame beats the brakes off of the University of Texas for the second year in a row, this time in their hometown. And what we're going to do is each week that we do our podcast, we're going to kind of talk about the player that we selected for our countdown. And today happens to be somebody I'm excited to talk about it that we're very connected to and very sad to see not in Notre Dame uniform, but happy that he's in the NFL. And that's number 91 days till Notre Dame football, Sheldon Day. Nate, I know you've had a chance to meet Sheldon on 2 occasions. Do you want to give the listeners a little bit of background on how that all went down?
Yeah, the first time I met him was at the Pancake Shop, which I suggest all of you who live in Chicago to go there. It is the best. Anyways, so I was just eating my pancakes and all that. Then he and Everett Golson, my second favorite, came over. And they just said, hey, and they just started talking, and I just thought that was really cool. The second time I met him was when we went to Stanford, and I met him, and he was just so cool again, and I saw Jerry Tiller, all those guys. But I met him, and then we did the little handshake and all that he does with his mom.
Yeah.
So that was really cool of him to do.
So yeah, I know Carol Boyd, Sheldon's mom, is a listener. I think she's listened to the show before. So we just really think very highly of Sheldon Day. He was a great, and not even that he was just a good guy off the field. It was great that he's so great with the fans, but this guy was a ferocious killer on the field. I mean, anytime you saw a play being made in the backfield, you usually saw number 91 making it happen, creating some space for the linebackers to get through, holding up double teams. I mean, he was just a beast. And, you know, it's really unfortunate that we're going to lose that anchor to our defensive front. But I'm really excited for him. He's going to be playing on the Jags. And from what I've heard, he's making a very strong impact in rookie workouts and some of the summer OTAs and stuff. So Sheldon's going to have a good career, not just because he's a good football player, because he's a good person, he's a good leader. I can't stress enough how much we're going to need somebody to step up and fill that leadership role on defense, because, you know, when you saw the pregame stuff going on, who'd you always see in the middle getting the team fired up?
Yeah, Sheldon Day.
You always saw Sheldon Day. And for me as a dad, the moment when Sheldon did the little handshake they did with his mom with Nate and really took the time to sit there and talk to him was just a very cool experience. So if Sheldon's listening, thank you for that, Sheldon. And Carol, you raised a great kid, great man, and he's going to do great things in the NFL. So we're at 91 days now. I cannot wait for this season. Every season since I'm 6 years old, you know, I'm excited about the season. And every year since they won the Natty back in '88, I always say this is our year. And I truly believe this is our year. I think that and we'll get into more details as the season gets closer, but whatever way we end up going at quarterback, whether it's Kaiser, whether it's Malik, whether it's Winbush, who knows, we're going to have one of the best starting quarterbacks in the country. I got a magazine, the ESPN magazine. It's a very early college football playoff or college football preview, and it has Notre Dame as the number 11 team, which I think is pretty fair considering how many new guys are breaking in. You know, we lost Will, we lost Jalen, CJ Procise, but think about the guys we're getting back. Josh Adams, we're getting Terry and Folson back, who was the leading rusher 2 years ago before he got hurt.
Smythe.
Durham Smythe's coming back for a full season. Alize Jones, you put him pretty much anywhere to make plays. I mean,
and Parker
Boudreaux, that's right. Parker, I know you listen, so shout out to you, big guy. Parker Boudreaux, and our 5 Round MMA guys may be interested in this, is literally a clone, spitting image of Brock Lesnar, Man Bear Pig. He's like baby Man Bear Pig. So when I first saw him, I nicknamed him Baby Brock. And so, you know, this guy could be that level of superstar. He's got a lot of charisma. So just really excited about the class coming in, and I think that good things are on the way for Notre Dame football, and Coach Kelly really has things going on in the right direction. So for those of you that are interested in continuing to follow us, we are on YouTube. Just type in Dose Leprechauns. We would appreciate if you'd subscribe and like and comment on our videos. And we're also on Twitter at Dose Leprechauns. So on our second segment today, we're going to be joined by former linebacker for the Irish, also special teams stud, Joe Brockington. So we'll be coming back with that interview, and stay tuned. Thanks. All right, everybody, welcome back to Dose Leprechauns, the podcast. I am Leprechaun Jason.
Leprechaun Nate.
And this morning we are excited to be joined by former Notre Dame linebacker Joe Brockington. Joe, how you doing this morning?
Good. Really good.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're just going to ask you a few questions kind of about your time at Notre Dame and why it was such a special place and kind of what you're up to now. So starting off, I mean, I know that you were injured your senior year in high school. When you were injured, what were some schools that were recruiting you? What were some of the schools that were after you? And then was it Notre Dame that just kept pushing and you realized that was why you wanted to go there? Or were they kind of always your choice? How did that all work out in the recruiting process?
I actually was recruited by most of the teams in the ACC and then the Big 12 and then the Big East at the time. Those are the schools looking at me. I had committed going into my senior year of high school to Notre Dame, actually. And then ended up dislocating my shoulder into the fourth play into the second game of the season. And they just kind of stuck by me my whole time when I was injured and so forth and told me not to worry about it. So yeah, I never kind of wavered from my decision at that point. I knew I was going to go there. I knew that was going to be the place that I was going to play.
Who was the main person on the coaching staff recruiting you? Who was going after you?
At the time, it was Bob Simmons.
Okay.
Then he was also my linebacker coach there when I got there, too, so that made it a lot easier to adjust.
Nice.
What was your favorite moment with Brady Quinn?
I would probably say, I think it was 2006 when we were playing UCLA at home. It was a real tight game, real close. He threw like a little, almost like a pop pass to Jeff, and Jeff scored and won us the game. That was probably my favorite moment. It was also too early in my career as far as me starting. I want to say that was my second or third start too, so that kind of stuck with me.
So you kind of mentioned that being your highlight with Brady Quinn. What would be your highlight in your time at Notre Dame? Maybe it was your first time running out of the tunnel, your first start, your first tackle. What was your favorite moment, the moment that you'll never forget at your time as a football player at Notre Dame?
Me personally, I think was playing at Penn State, being from Pennsylvania and growing up on Penn State football, growing up when LeVar Arrington and Brandon Short and those guys and Courtney Brown were playing. I think coming to Pennsylvania and playing at Penn State was probably my personal favorite moment.
And I think you're being kind of modest there because you freaking dominated that game, man. I remember watching that game and you were all over the field making plays left and right, man.
Yeah, I was excited for that game. No one had to kind of get me motivated for that game. I actually remember going out for warm-ups and doing warm-ups and getting booed. and I felt a certain type of way about that, being home and being booed by, some of these kids I went to school with. A lot of the guys that played with at Penn State, I either played them in high school or knew them from like the recruiting circuit and so forth. So yeah, it was a big game for me, and I was excited to play.
So being that you're a Pennsylvania guy, I mean, what was it? I mean, I'm sure you went to Penn State games in the past, or at least a couple here and there. So how in the world did you end up at Notre Dame? I mean, I guess to say how in the world, anybody that goes there knows the magic of that place. But what made you go to Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, as opposed to Happy Valley?
Well, my high school coach and I, we had set up some trips, and we went and we visited a bunch of schools. We went to Ohio State. We went to Michigan State, went to Michigan, and Notre Dame and Purdue. We kind of did like the swing to the Midwest. And it was just a feeling that I got when I arrived on campus and got shown around campus that this was the place for me. As far as going to Penn State, they had a great program. Just for me personally, it wasn't one of the things that I was interested in doing, just because we have a lot of people from my high school kind of going to Penn State. And it's kind of referred to as the 13th grade by us. So it had nothing to do personally with Penn State. They have a great program, great tradition. It was just more of me wanting to kind of spread my wings and kind of move away from home and kind of grow.
Sure. Okay. So, kind of a difficult question, but I want to ask just because I think it's something that fans are always thinking about. But, the '07 year was obviously a rough year in Notre Dame history.
Yeah.
What was it about, not really what about the team, but how did you guys stay mentally strong throughout the season? I mean, I know there was a lot of injuries, there was a lot of turmoil. But what was it about that group of guys that you guys were able to still go out there? And I'll tell you right now, people think about that season as such a terrible season, but a lot of those games were really close. There wasn't a lot of blowouts or anything like that. It's one of those things like in football where ball goes your way, ball doesn't go your way, and it's a difference between a win and a loss. And I remember you guys fighting to the end, a lot of the key guys in that team. So how did you guys continue to go out there game after game amongst all the adversity, amongst all the haters and naysayers? What made you guys stay together?
I think it was a class that was still kind of left there in 2007, the class from 2003, which would have been my recruiting class. There was a bunch of us guys still kind of on the team. Trevor was still on the team. Tommy was still on the team. Carlson was still on the team. Sullivan was still on the team. So all of us had kind of a relationship that we had built over the last couple of years, and it was just kind of right for us to kind of come back. And clearly we didn't think that the season was going to go that way, the way that it did. But for us, it wasn't really necessarily hard, I don't think, because it was something that we love to do. Our biggest thing is we just didn't have any depth. We had a couple of fifth-year guys, but then the grade underneath us, or the class underneath us, was Mo Crum, and then I think Terrell Lambert, and I think that's it. I mean, that recruiting class wasn't a big recruiting class as is, but as the years went on, that kind of class kind of fizzled out, and there was only a couple guys remaining from that class that actually stayed and graduated. So that kind of hurt us. We had a bunch of talented young guys at the time. We had Jimmy, that was his first year. We had Golden. It was just a matter of them just kind of getting the experience, and I think that's kind of what kind of hurt us is we didn't have any depth. We had a couple of us fifth-year senior guys, not so many seniors, but then just a bunch of young guys, that ended up having pretty good careers.
Are you still connected to a lot of those guys? You mentioned Golden Tate, Jimmy Clausen, some of those kind of guys that are some of the Notre Dame legends, so to speak. So are you still connected to any of those guys? You still talk to them regularly?
So I was out at the Texas game this past year, and I saw Golden there. I saw Jimmy there, and talked to those guys. But the guys that I'm still connected with are the guys that I came into Notre Dame with in my recruiting class in 2003. So, we keep in pretty good contact. A lot of those guys are actually my best men
cool.
in my wedding. Yeah, so we stay in contact, but it's mostly the class that I came with are the guys that I keep in contact with.
So who are some of those guys? Who are some of your best men?
Trevor was one.
Okay.
Tommy was one.
Nice.
Yeah, and then Victor, he came to the wedding. Victor came to the wedding. Jeff and I still speak from time to time. Ambrose was at the wedding. Yeah, so it was a bunch of guys from the 2003 class, and vice versa. I've been to their weddings and things like that. So,
have you been to any of Zibby's fights at all?
No, none of the recent ones I haven't been to. I have a bunch of stuff going on. I want to get to one of his fights. The last fight that I went to that he had was when he was in Atlantic City.
Okay.
That was during the lockout. We went to the fight that he had in Atlantic City. That's the last time I saw him actually fight.
Okay. Are you still connected to Notre Dame? Do you go back to a lot of games? You mentioned you're at the Texas game. Do you?
I don't go back. I wouldn't say I go back to a lot of games. Like last year, I went to the Texas game. Then we ended up going to the Fiesta Bowl. A bunch of us got together and went down to the Fiesta Bowl. But I try to get back from time to time with the business and stuff that we had started. It hasn't really freed me up in the fall.
Okay.
The trial, I guess, or the trial season for the Dogs is right around the same time the season is for football, so they kind of conflict each other.
Yeah, we were at the Fiesta Bowl too, and that was pretty disappointing. But that's cool that you guys were able to go back to that. It's cool to go see Notre Dame on the road. How well they travel, how many of the alumni you see, and how many guys still go back and support. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So thanks for shedding that light on your time at Notre Dame. So I've been checking out your page, and it looks like you have a pretty successful program going on with dogs. Do you want to get into that a little bit? Talk about your program, what you guys do?
Yeah, so we're Ipso Canine LLC, and it stands for Imagine, Believe, Seek, and Obtain. And we're we're a dog training facility where we would breed and raise dogs, and we end up selling them to police departments or selling them to people for personal protection dogs. Anywhere where the dog would be required to work is kind of where we place our dogs, and we also compete with them ourselves. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what we do.
And is that something that you did kind of growing up, or how did you come about getting into that business?
It's kind of crazy. So my going into my 5th year, I only had I had 6 credits that I was taking. I had already graduated at the time and taken some grad classes. So in the summertime, I was just working out and somewhat kind of bored. So then that's when I purchased my first working dog. So I purchased her, then I started training her during the summertime with a local Schützen club out there in Indiana. Then I met a police officer actually in the South Bend Police Department. Started attending their canine training that they have for their police dogs there. Then one thing kind of led to another. I moved back home, started training the same dog again when I got home, and then actually turned it into a career. So that's kind of the story on how we kind of got started as a business. So
nice. Okay. Well, cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate the time this morning. We're gonna let you go. I know you got a lot going on this morning, so we really appreciate you taking out a few minutes to talk to us. And you want to give a shout out to how people can find you, and as far as your dog training.
Yeah, so we're vonipso.com, and then we're also on Twitter and Instagram, and we're Ipso Canine.
Awesome.
So,
and then do you have your personal social media accounts you want people to know about?
Yeah, I have my Facebook account. It's just Joe Brockington. I don't really have Twitter or Instagram. I use the business as my Twitter and my Instagram. So
okay.
Yeah, I just have a Facebook account. It's just Joe Brockington.
Cool. All right, Joe. Hey, thanks again for the time this morning, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yep. All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right, go Irish.
No, we are today. Hey, yeah. Yeah, yeah. There is no glory without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so this is our third segment with the WWE segment. So on Raw, it really surprised me. I wasn't surprised by Cena coming out because we knew, but after he threw his little shirt and his hat, then he turned around and AJ Styles plunked him in the mouth.
Well, there was some other things that happened first.
Yeah.
I really liked the way the crowd. Yeah, I liked the way the crowd started to kind of. They were a little dead at first, like, I don't know about this, and then there was a pretty good chant going with AJ Styles or Cena or whatever. I heard a lot of Cena sucks again, but not as many as before, so that's cool for you.
I didn't hear any remixes of his song. So maybe they forgot.
Maybe, I guess so, but they'll soon remember. Trust me, because he does suck.
Hopefully not.
But yeah, I thought it was. I'm excited, man. I know you're not so excited about it, but I feel like the Bullet Club has overtaken the club or the Balor Club, whatever they're gonna call it. So AJ turning on Cena to become kind of a main heel now and the leader of the Bullet Club. We're just gonna call it the Bullet Club. That's exciting for me because I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for what they could do and. That feud between Cena and AJ. I'm not a Cena fan, but I'm glad he's back. It's hard to explain that, but I think he's good for WWE and good for attention for him. But I'm excited to see the AJ versus Cena feud.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the match. Yeah, I'm excited about the match. But on Thursday Night SmackDown, it was AJ Styles versus Kofi Kingston in the main event. And that's kind of a dream match to me because Kofi, when he was in WWE, AJ Styles was in TNA, and everybody started talking about TNA versus WWE, all that. So that was just cool to me.
Yeah, definitely. Good point, Nate. We have the draft that is kind of up in the air right now. I mean, obviously the draft is going to happen. I'm really excited that we'll have Monday and Tuesday of live wrestling for the first time in a very long time. But I'm a little worried about what I've been hearing about the draft. I feel like nobody knows what they're doing. Shane and Stephanie are kind of like, oh, you're going to take Raw. No, I'm going to take Raw, but nobody really wants it. And I feel like they need to start solidifying plans so that when they start drafting these guys, there's some true rivalry, there's some true excitement about the draft, because right now it's like, okay, well, this could happen, but nobody knows really what's going to happen. I mean, the New Day talked about it a little bit. Maybe they split up the New Day, which, by the way, I think would be a huge mistake for right now. But, what do you think? I mean, do you think that they have an idea in mind, or they just kind of...
I think they're just going to throw stuff out there. Like, the night before, they're going to say, okay, AJ Styles is going to go to SmackDown or something like that. They're not going to have a set who's going to go where. They're just going to think what's right.
Do you think they'll do like they did before, where you have just your SmackDown guys and just your Raw guys, or do you think they'll blend in? Do you think they'll have one title for each show, or will there just be one title?
I think it'll be a couple titles per show. So, like, maybe the tag team goes to SmackDown. Okay. And then the United States Championship goes to SmackDown.
I like that.
And then the WWE Championship stays on Raw, and then Intercontinental stays on Raw or something like that.
Good point. I know it's still a few weeks away, but I think Money in the Bank will probably lay a lot of the groundwork for how they end up going about in the draft. But the most intriguing element of the draft for me is what are they going to do with some of these NXT guys? We saw the draft sheet that had Shinsuke Nakamura on there going to Raw, or was it SmackDown? I don't remember which one. Do you guys remember? Whichever one it was. It had him getting drafted. So to me, I'm not a fan of that. I think he still needs to dominate in NXT for a while, get the title, or go on a big run. His match with Austin Aries next week is going to be freaking gold. There needs to be some direction for him. I don't want him to come into WWE and turn into be Funaki or something like that, because Vince doesn't know how to use the Japanese guys. That's a fact. That's a proven fact.
Well, I think he has to come into WWE Raw, whether it be Raw or SmackDown, because TakeOver The End, I think that says a lot. NXT The End. It's over. Done.
Maybe. That's a good point. All right, well, that's going to wrap up our show for this morning. We have one quick announcement we want to make is that at the end of July, we don't want to release a date yet, but because we're still working on plans, but we're looking at doing our first Dose Leprechauns live show, which means some of our listeners will be able to call in. We have a very special guest that we're working on lining up. It's just about confirmed. You'll be able to interact with him. And then we have also confirmed Lisa Kelly, the author of The Men We Became, a Notre Dame graduate, a staunch Notre Dame supporter, somebody that does a lot for the university and is very, just a great lady. So we're very excited to have her on in the live show. She'll be taking calls, call-ins. And then our other guests that we have lined up, again, I don't want to release who it is yet, but it is a big Notre Dame name, somebody that we all know and love, and somebody that's still very involved with the program. So once we have those details, we'll definitely announce those on our Twitter account, which once again is @DoseLeprechauns. And again, follow us, subscribe, and like our YouTube channel. We would appreciate that, especially these videos that we put together, thanks to our @5Round MMA supporters. And check them out, too. They're our prime supporters, @5Round MMA. And also a shout-out to our other buddies, @Blaze and Malfunsky. They have a great wrestling show that we've been guesting on as well. And Nate, I think you had somebody you wanted to
say. Yeah, shout-out to my friend, ArfTrooper9. He's a great YouTuber. Check out his videos. He just shouted us out, so he makes all these kind of videos. So just go watch him and get him to 100 subscribers.
Cool. And we want to thank everybody for following us. Dose Leprechauns are now at 302 followers on Twitter, so we're excited about that. We want to keep those numbers going and keep this thing going for you guys, and hopefully we're providing you some good content. We'll have some recruiting news coming up next time, some more Irish former players that are, as we continue to count down towards the beatdown in Texas. With that, we will say have a good week, and we probably won't see you before, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and go Irish.
Hi.
Now meet the legend that is us Notre Dame. We stand together and that's not gonna change. We're family.